Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 145, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fibernymph on Ravelry, Plurk, and Instagram. Today is Wednesday, December 24th, so it is Christmas Eve. So almost Christmas. It might already be Christmas. Some places like Australia and New Zealand, I know they get the holidays way earlier than we do here in the US. So if it is, Merry Christmas, and if it's not, it will be soon. I don't know. Guess I could have looked that up before I started to record, but I didn't. So it's almost Christmas. So if you celebrate, I hope you're having a good celebration. I realized this morning when I got my coffee out that I never got my Christmas mugs out. I only have like 6 of them, and they're all motley. They don't match or anything, but they're just ones I've gotten over the years. So this is my favorite one. It says "Just Believe," and I like the Santa on it. And it just has snowflakes and gifts and teddy bear. I don't know. He's my favorite one. And I'm sorry. I'm probably gonna be sipping throughout the episode because I'm kind of scratchy and I've been sneezy a lot the last few days. I'm really hoping I'm not getting sick. It's probably my body's way of saying, hey, it's been a really long year and you worked really hard. Time to crash. But I'm hoping I can hold out through the holidays anyway. So let's see what else. Oh, well, I'm trying to be a little festive today. So I'm following in the footsteps of Tilly and wearing from the Tilly Trout podcast. And I have my antlers. Actually, these are Emma's. She lent them to me. My antlers with the Santa hat on and my red shirt. You can't see them, but my toes are actually quite festive. I painted them yesterday, so every other toe is red and green. Red and green, red and green. And this is China Glaze if you're interested. The red I bought last year. It's Ruby Pumps. The green I just found this year, and it is Running in Circles. Weird name, but anyway, I thought they were quite festive because they're glittery. And I love having my toenails painted. My fingernails, I go in phases. You've probably noticed, like, I don't have them painted now because they're all kind of breaking and need to be filed nicely and everything, so I haven't had time. Anyway, so there's that. Oh, and then Emma decided that I needed to have a decoration in here because I have no Christmas decorations in my office. So she lent me her blinky snowman. I don't know if you can tell that it's blinking. I was a little worried it might mess with the autofocus, but it doesn't seem to be. So he blinks. So that's the little bit of festivity that you're getting from me today because honestly, I'm not feeling overly Christmassy. This is horrible. It's like tomorrow's Christmas, and I was really in the holiday spirit, like for a couple of weeks or a few weeks. And I don't know if it was because I was knitting so many gifts and like I was thinking, yay, you know, or what. And now that that's pretty much over, that's been a lull. Or I don't know if maybe because it's been, I was really looking forward to doing my winter solstice dinner that I do every year, and now that's done. So I may have been in the winter solstice spirit and not so much in the Christmas spirit. I'm working on Christmas spirit. So I'm preparing myself mentally for the fact that this is going to be a very low-key Christmas. Last year was too for the most part. So I'm just keeping my expectations really low. That sounds bad, I know, but it's sort of a self-preservation thing. And it'll be fine. It's just, you know, it's not Christmas like it used to be when there were little ones around and everything was woohoo all the time and everything. Emma and I we watched some Christmas movies this week. Let's see, which ones have I watched so far? By myself, I watched If You Believe, which is my favorite all-time kind of holiday. It's kind of a Thanksgiving / Christmas movie. I watched that one. I watched Elf. Actually, Emma and I were watching Elf the other night, and she fell asleep during it. She was really tired, though, because I think that was the night she had gotten home from school. So can't really fault her there. And then I watched Love Actually the other night, and I fell asleep at the end of that. I woke up all curled up in my chair, and the movie was over. It was like the ending scene. It's like, oh. And I really like that movie. It may not have been the best movie for me to watch this year, though. For various reasons, but you know, whatever. And then the other night, Emma and I pulled out the VCR. Okay, I have a VCR still. It lives under my couch, not plugged in, obviously. It just gets stuffed under there because I don't really have any VCR tapes anymore. There may be a few hanging around. My wedding video is probably one of them. How exciting. I should do something about that. I don't know. Anyway, one tape I have that I absolutely adore is just a videotape that I made when I would say my oldest was probably 2, because it was around the 1988, as the best as I can tell. And it's all the TV specials that they used to air every year. Okay, the Christmas specials. So one year I got it in my head that I was going to tape all of, and it wasn't just Christmas specials. It was like the cartoon specials, like the Peanuts special movies that they would put on throughout the year. And there were some odd ones that I don't think lasted very long besides Peanuts and stuff. But I decided I was going to tape those. So I did. And what's so fun is I also captured a lot of the commercials. So there's a lot of like late 80s hair and glasses styles on there that are just a hoot. Oh my gosh. But the 4 movies that are on there that I really, really love, well, there's the Peanuts, the Merry Christmas Charlie Brown is on there, and there's Frosty the Snowman. I don't know why Frosty the Snowman isn't one of my favorites. I don't know. And it's Charlie Brown, so it's just sort of by default a good, fun movie. And then there's the Garfield Christmas special, which I love. And best of all, there is the Claymation Christmas special, which I looked this up on Google because they came out in 1987. And so I'm assuming this was the second year that they were played, and they were always played back to back, like they were played together, Garfield and Claymation. Those 2 are my favorites out of all those old movies. They make me happiest. I love the camels that do the We Three Kings song. So anyway, we pulled that video out, or we said we were going to watch that. And so she pulled the VCR out and hooked it up. She's like, I can't find the tape. And I'm like, did you look in the VCR? And lo and behold, it was still in the VCR from last year because, like I said, it's pretty much the only thing we use the VCR for at this point. So, and we left it in there when we were done too. I'm waiting for this tape to die because I don't know how many years a VCR tape is going to be able to function without corrupting in some way or just outright breaking. Fingers crossed it will hold on a while longer because it's such a piece of nostalgia. So that was fun. Anyway, I'm totally digressing here. I'm off my show notes already, so let's get back to show notes. Let's see. Let's get into the knitting because there was no new introductions. But if you are new to the group or new to the podcast, hello and welcome. I'm hoping you will stick around and see what all we're about. I don't usually babble about Christmas stuff first off. But anyway, I have one FO. And you know what it is, right? It's the Afghan. I finished it. I finished it yesterday. I finished seaming it. I know last time I told you I would, because I recorded on a Tuesday last time, and I told you at that point, I think I had 2.5 squares left. I said easily I could get these done by Thursday. Well, as it turned out, I did not get them done by Thursday, but I did finish them by Friday night. So I had all the squares done, and then the next day I laid them all out on my living room floor, figured out what order I wanted them in, and there was really no good way to order them because they didn't fall in any specific pattern. They were very random, but I found an order I liked and I labeled them all, and then I started seaming them, and first in the strip. So I had 4 strips of 5 squares each, and then I started seaming the 4 strips together. It's done. It got finished yesterday? Yeah, last night. Last evening. So I am going to stand up and try to show this to you. I don't know. I mean, here is part of it, obviously. I don't know how easy this is going to be, but I have to figure out which direction it goes. Here, let's see. This is what I'm considering the front. Is it? Boy, I'm confused already. I think I have it upside down, maybe? Oh, goodness. I'm just going to stand up and show it to you. Oh, it's on end. That's why. So it is upside down. Here we go. Okay, so here's the Afghan. I'm going to try to back up. There's really no way I'm going to be able to show you this whole thing, but there it is. It's 4 by 5, so it's quite large. And it's done. That is the most important part. It is finished. It just needs to be wrapped, but I wanted to be able to show it to you since you guys have been along on this ride with me since the end of October. The only mistake I made in this whole Afghan, believe it or not, was in the seaming, and it was when I was sewing on the last strip of squares. I sewed it on backwards. Like all of the other ones, the smallest, like the point was pointing to the top right, and I had it flipped over so it was pointing to the bottom left. Thankfully, I was only in about maybe 2 squares worth, so I was able to rip it back out easily enough and turn it around and do it correctly. I was so glad I didn't put the whole thing on there and then figure that out. That would have been horrible. But I just wanted to get it done at that point, so obviously I wasn't paying attention. But it is finished now. It took me 2 months and 2 days because I started October 21st, and yesterday was December 23rd, so 2 months and 2 days. I think that's pretty darn good for an entire Afghan. It's the first Afghan I have ever finished in that kind of time. And seeing as I've only ever finished 2 Afghans now, and the other one was a swap Afghan, so I didn't even knit all the squares for it. I'm very pleased with the outcome of this Afghan. I can only hope that my son will also be pleased with it once he opens it. I have a certain level of enthusiasm I would like to see out of him, but I hope he likes it anyway. So yes, and that was out of the Katya Azteca yarn, color 7801. It ended up using, well, I used all the original 20 balls and most of one of the other ones. There's probably a little bit of it left somewhere, I don't know. And I have 1 full ball left. So I did end up with enough yarn I was able to seam with the Katya as opposed to having to use other yarn. So that worked out really well too. Yeah, it was a wonderful project. I really enjoyed doing it. So, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's scratchy. I hope I don't start sneezing too, because I've been doing that a lot. Okay. That was what pretty much got the majority of the work this past week. So not a whole lot else to show you. I did not work at all on the little, the Lediman Fiber Arch Showstopper ankle socks. Those did not get any work at all, so I didn't even bring them in to show you. I have cast on 2 other things, though, since finishing this. Actually, the one I cast on while I was in the midst of still seaming, just because I knew I was going to get it done, and I wanted to cast this on. I cast it on with the idea that it might end up being a Christmas gift. I don't know that this is going to get done before tomorrow. But we'll see. I'm not really worried about it if it gets done or not. But it's the antler hat. This is by Tin Can Knits, who is Erica Luter. She's half of Tin Can Knits anyway. But I've just loved this hat, and I had it in my queue pretty much all through the holiday season as a possible gift item that I might do if I had time. It is a paid-for pattern. It's just a really cute little cable design that kind of looks like antlers stacked on each other. So I really like it. The person I'm making it for, though, who will get it eventually, whether it's for a Christmas gift or otherwise, I'm not sure of head size. So I cast on the circumference that I think will be okay. But as far as depth, I'm really not sure how I'm going to be able to gauge that, because I know this person doesn't like big, they like them to be tight fitting, and this is supposed to be a tight fitting hat to begin with. So I made them a hat one other time, and it ended up being a little too long, and they're like, is there any way you can just take off some of the ribbing? It's like, I can't. I started there. I mean, I guess I'm sure there was some way I could have done it, but it would have been awkward. So what I did this time as my own little modification, and my hope that I can modify if I need to, is I did a provisional cast on, and then picked up the stitches for the brim, and I knit the brim, and then I bound it off. So, and I knit the brim much shorter than what it called for. And it calls for like 2 inches. I only did it maybe a little over 1, and not by much. So I provisional cast on, which was a crochet chain, cast on the the brim, knit the brim, cast off the brim, and then I went with the larger needles because you start with 6s, US 6s for the brim. So then I used US 8s, although I realized partway through I should have just put them on the needles with the 6s because trying to pick up provisional stitches with larger needles than you used was sort of a pain in the butt. So live and learn. Anyway, I picked it all up. So then I had my brim down here already, and I can knit up for the rest of the hat. The thing is now, if it ends up being a little bit too long or if it ends up being a little too short, I can take out my bind off and I can modify the length from there. That was my goal. I don't know that that's a unique idea. Somebody else may have already come up with that. There may have even been an easier way for me to do it. Obviously, if I was working the hat from the top down, that would be easier. But I was not in the mood to try to modify this pattern and work it from the top down. I don't really like doing top down hats anyway. So I was doing this really late last night. Well, not the brim. The brim I started yesterday earlier in the day, I think, or the night before. I don't remember. But the the part where I was actually getting into the cable chart, I was doing late last night, and I was tired, and it was not going well for me. Not because of the pattern. The pattern is written fine. It's a very simple pattern, actually. Number one, I wish these were sharps. These are not Hayahayas. These are Addies, just regular Addies. And they have a very blunt tip. These used to be one of my favorite needles, and they're not anymore because their tips are so blunt. And I'm using my Cozy Base, which I specifically dyed. This is not a colorway I've ever dyed before, but I'm actually going to have it in the shop eventually. It's a brownish green. It's actually a multi-layered dye, and I'm calling it Woodsman. So it's a nice manly color. But anyway, back here is actually more accurate. And it's so funny because it actually looks more green in some light than it is, because it's actually more browns than green, but that green just picks up for some reason. Anyway, God, I don't even remember what I was saying now. Yeah, I was just tired, and I was having trouble getting the, because I cable without a cable needle anytime I can, and this is a simple enough cable. I'm only working with 2 stitches forward and backward, so I can definitely do it without a cable needle, but I was just having trouble, and maybe it'll be easier as I go up the hat since I'm now adjusted to the larger needles. But yeah, so that's where I am with this. Whether it gets done or not, I don't know. I'm not worried about it at all. I'm not stressing. So yeah, that's been, I guess I should stick the pattern back in with it. That's been something that I did cast on. The other thing, the reason I was trying to stay up late last night was because I'm taking part in the Little Bobbins Knits Christmas Eve cast on for socks, and I wanted to start my socks first thing at midnight last night, as soon as it became Christmas Eve. And it was about 10 to midnight, and I'd finally put the hat down because I knew I could not deal with it anymore. And I'm like, I am so tired. There is no way I can start these socks tonight. Because if you remember, I'm doing the scrappy socks, like I'm using bunches of different scrap sock yarn leftovers, and I'm just going to make like those monster socks, you know, where you have different stripes of different yarns. They're not going to match in any way whatsoever. I have no plan for them, but I did want to start them toe up so that I can do toe up, afterthought heel, and then I can make them as tall as I end up wanting to make them. Because if I start at the top, you're limited. So this way I can just do increases if I want to get them up over my calves and make knee socks. It all depends on how, you know, ambitious I end up being. I've got scads of scrap sock yarn. I mean, just tons of it. Either from stuff I've made, you know, old other socks that I've made, shawls that I've made, things that I've made for other people. And then I've got jars. I took a picture the other day. Like, I have a couple of jars full of just little balls. They're like probably 5-gram balls, because I think I got a lot of them whenever I was doing swaps for the sock yarn blanket, the little mini mitered squares one, which I never ended up doing. So I'll probably use some of those too. I like the idea of using ones that are from things that I've made, because that way there's memory knitted into those socks as well. But I don't think I'll have enough of my own without repeating colors. And I guess I could repeat colors, but I kind of want to use as many different colors in the socks as I can. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I did start them this morning. And I'm knitting them concurrently. Can you hold on a minute? Okay, sorry, I'm back. Had to answer my phone because it was my daughter's ringtone and I left my cell phone in the other room. Okay, so what was I talking about? I did finally cast on these socks this morning. And everything's all twisted together. I am doing them concurrently, so I'm not 2 at a time on the same needles, but 2 separate needles. And I just have the start of toes because that's the other reason that I did not want to start these last night. Using Judy's Magic Cast On, which I know how to do. I've done it before. It takes me 3 or 4 times to get it started and get it right. And by right, I mean I have no problem doing the process, but once I start knitting it, for whatever reason, almost every time I end up with like the purl bump part of that cast on the outside of the sock. And then I have to rip it out and do it again, rip it out, do it again. And I'll tell you what, I did it 4 times. This was the first one I did this morning. And by the 4th time, I thought, okay, I've got it right this time. And I didn't. It's still wrong. And I said, you know what? I don't care. So they're supposed to be monster socks anyway. So you can see that's just that bumpy part. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I know I could go back to the YouTube video and figure it out. I've tried every different configuration. I don't know why I do it wrong. But then I cast on the second one. I thought, oh, you know, with my luck, I'll get this one right the first time and then they won't match. And then I'll have to rip it out to try to do it wrong. Wouldn't that have been a kick? But I didn't. I got it wrong on the first try. So win. At any rate, the yarns that I'm using currently, this is some, I believe this is Cherry Tree Hill that I knit myself some socks out of a while ago. And I think they have a hole in them already. I'd say 2 years ago I knit them because I remember I was knitting them. I either was knitting them at a Rhinebeck or I had just finished them at a Rhinebeck. I can't remember. But it was probably at least 2 years ago. And they now have a hole in them. And they have a hole in them in a weird place. It's not even like a wear hole. I don't know if like the cat chewed on them or I don't know. They have a hole. So I'm using that. And then this one I'm using, this is some Highland Handmaids, and I don't remember which sock base is. It's her 75-25 superwash wool nylon. And this is in the Firestarter colorway. And I knit my lacy Bactus out of this several years ago. So now I will have it also in a sock. My plan is to at least do the entire toe in one color or one yarn, and then I'll start switching and doing the stripes in different colors. I don't know. I think I'm going to try to do the stripes all about the same size. And I pulled out a bunch of yarn. And the bag that I'm using, this is a beautiful gift that I got from my friend Amelia, who is ML Carve 1963 on Ravelry. She sent me this adorable bag. I mean, it's just so freaking cute. It's nicely lined and it's got a zipper and it's just so sweet. And she was just kind enough to send it to me. So anyway, this is my bag that I'll be using, and I have a whole bunch of yarns in there right now that I'm going to be making use of, and you can see the wild color differentiations. But I'll just take more out, take some out and put more in as I need to. Again, no real plan, and I don't know that there's really a deadline for this knit along. It's more of a cast on together, so it's not a knit along that Danny is doing like for prizes or anything. So I'm not really sure that there's a time limit. So this may be an ongoing project for me for a while. I don't know, but at any rate, it is what it is, and it's fun, and it's started. I'm past those stupid cast ons. I'm still obviously in the increased sections of the toes. Yeah, but otherwise, I'm glad to have those on. It's fun to be casting on things that are not really Christmas gifts at this point, and something for me. Oh, and I would like to say happy birthday because Amelia's birthday is today, so happy birthday, Amelia. Okay, what else? That's everything on my needles. Just those 2 things right now, at least actively. Well, 3 things if you count the little ankle socks that I haven't worked on. I'm going to get those back in the rotation now too, though. And I don't really have plans to cast on anything else specific at this point. Though come January, or maybe even before January, I'm sure I will. It depends on how quickly other things get done. I really kind of enjoyed knitting, the focused knitting that I did over like November and December for the gifts. I don't want to keep doing it at that manic a pace, but I really kind of liked having that focus of like, okay, I'm working on this, and a little bit of this. And then I got this done, and then I could work on this, and like maybe add another, you know what I mean? As opposed to normally I'm like, oh, I'm going to cast on this. Oh, I work on that, and then I forget about it, and then I have these 3 things, and it's just so random all over the place. And with January coming up, that's one of the things I usually do. And I was going to talk about this a little bit later too. Is just, well, I'll switch around, you know, upcoming January. I've said I usually use it either as my finishing month, like I finish a lot of projects that I've got on the needles and I get them done, or it's a month that I decide, you know what, this has been on the needles forever. I don't love it anymore. I'm never going to finish it, and I frog it. But this year, I think it's going to be a combination of the 3. I think it's just going to be, you know, I'm either going to finish it, I'm going to frog it, or I'm just going to cast on some new things that I really want to knit for myself as a reward for getting so many Christmas knits done. I can't even remember now how many things I knit for Christmas and finished. Let me see if I can add those up real fast, because it was a lot. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I did 14 Christmas knits. And that was 2 pairs of socks, that hitchhiker, 1, 2, 3, 4 hats. 4 hats are finished. I'm not counting the antler one. 2 cowls, those big mega color block cowls, the 3 mug cozies, and the mitts, the rip current mitts. So yeah, that's a lot. And when you consider the Afghan to be one of the gifts, and that's really like 20 projects all put together, because I consider an Afghan square sort of a project in and of itself, even though it's quick. That was a lot of knitting I did. I have not added up the yardage. I just know, I think I told you last week that the yardage in my Christmas knitting alone like probably surpasses everything else I did this year. I haven't added the Afghan to my knit meter page yet. So, and I forget who I was watching on a podcast recently, and they were talking about, oh, I think maybe it was the Stockinette Zombies. They were talking about if you tag all of your projects from 2014 with the tag 2014, you can use Ravelry to come up with a whole bunch of statistics about your projects. I don't really remember what all they were, but I may try that. Because I really did not knit a ton this year, I don't think. I mean, I knit some, but not as much as I feel like I did. So anyway, all that to say is I knit a lot in the last 2 months, and I would like to continue to knit a good bit. And I'm sorry, I'm getting froggier the more I talk, so I'm going to try to keep this short. Let's see, November and December, the Giving Cal, we are coming up on the end of that, so you have up through December 31st to finish up your projects that you're doing for the Giving Cal, and I'll leave it open, the no chatter thread, I'll leave that open probably through January 1st, just so you can post pictures and get them up there. But then I will do drawings the first podcast after that for everybody who has taken part. And I'll tell you what, you have posted hundreds of finished objects, and I got behind really fast on, because I usually go in and I try to check and make sure that each project does fall within the start and end date of the knit-alongs that I've been doing that have those specific parameters. There is no way I can go in and check over 300 projects at this point. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to probably do the drawings for this knit-along prior to recording, because there's going to be more than one drawing. There's going to be several. And I'll try to let you know what the drawing items are next week when I record, because I do plan to record one more time before the end of the year. But I'll let you know what the prizes are. And then as I do the drawings, and I look at the person who wins, I will then verify. And if it doesn't qualify, I'll just draw another one for that one. I think that'll be just way easier than me trying to go through 300 entries, because that's just impossible at this point in time. So that's finishing up. The 9 weeks of giving is also still going. This is week 8, I believe. So please continue your random acts of kindness. I've been having a good time getting to gift a pattern to the winner each week. So week 8 will end Friday. And then we have one more week, because that goes a little bit beyond January 1st, just because I was keeping it with even weeks. So let's see, what else? Oh, I meant to mention last time, and I kind of forgot this part of my show notes, is about podcasts I've been watching. I've been watching the Stashless podcast, who's Karen. I don't know how I've never found her podcast before. She is just so delightful, because she's very bubbly and upbeat and everything. So she's a lot of fun. I've been enjoying watching her episodes. And also, I've been watching The Dyer's Notebook, which is not a new one to me. I've watched The Dyer's Notebook off and on for a while. But that's Laura, who is Jinx from Jinx Yarns. And the ones I've been watching, I've been going back and watching a lot of her Dyer interviews. If you remember, she did one with me shortly after SSK this year. So I'm one of the Dyer interviews that she had, but she's got so many good ones on there, and I haven't seen them all. So I've been going back and watching those, and that's been a lot of fun. But hers is definitely one of the ones I look forward to popping up every week on YouTube. So she's just so cute with her colorful hair. And she's been recording in her jammies all this month. So at least I don't think I mentioned this last week. I felt like after I got done recording, I realized that I didn't, but maybe I did. I don't know. I'm sorry. My brain, I've decided that my brain is just done for the year. It has used up all of its energy and power, and I'm just coasting on fumes now till the end of the year. Come January 1st, maybe that's what I'll get for Christmas. Somebody will give me a nice big box full of brain power for 2015. That would be awesome. So, alrighty. I think that's pretty much everything I had for you in 90%. 10%, let's see. Emma is home. She got home last Friday, and I've seen her for about 17 minutes. No. But she's a busy girl. She's been working. She worked at the bakery a couple of days already. She's also helping to get ready for her grandparents, her dad's parents. They're having a 50th wedding anniversary. A surprise party. I mean, their anniversary was a few months ago, but they're doing a surprise anniversary party for them over the holidays. So she has been assigned all of the baking, the cookies and the cake and everything. So that is kind of what she's really, really doing a lot of. I think the party's coming Saturday. And seeing as I'm really fairly certain nobody from my ex-in-laws side of the family is watching my podcast, I don't have a problem talking about it on my podcast, because I don't think anybody's going to find out about it that way. Anyway, so yeah, she's been busy, but she and I are planning a day to go out and just do some fun stuff together. So, but that'll be the following weekend before she goes back to school. I don't even want to think about that. It's like so fast, you know? And plus she wants to spend all time with her friends and everything. So, let's see, what else? Oh, we did have our winter solstice dinner. I look forward to doing that, because it's not like a traditional holiday that anybody else in my family ever celebrates. And I don't celebrate it from a religious or kind of standpoint or anything. I just like the winter solstice. I like all of those, like the solstices, the equinoxes, because I like how they mark time. You know, I really like the fact that winter solstice represents, you know, the longest night of the year. And after that, we're working our way towards the brighter, warmer days of summer. And it's just a really nice way to focus on time rather than just thinking, wow, this year went fast. It's like there are markers naturally built in. It's a cyclical thing. And I really like that cycle of life, you know, that predictability of that kind of thing. And the longest night thing, it's really funny. One of the things I remember most about this, and you're going to maybe laugh. Do you remember the TV show, The Big Comfy Couch? It was on PBS when my kids were little. I don't know if it still is around or not. I don't think it is. But it was about this family of clowns I think they lived in Clown Town, maybe. And what you got to know about me, if you don't already, is I don't like clowns at all. Like, they freak me out, creep me out more than anything. But these were kind of happy-ish clowns that were not creepy. It was Luna. I think her name was Luna, the clown girl. And then she had her doll, Molly the dolly. And they did all this stuff on the big comfy couch. It was this big oversized stuffed couch that she always pulled a lot of stuff out of and found what she was looking for. And then she had the clock rug and everything. I don't know. And she had a little dog too, I think. And then there was the mailman, Mr. Bedhead, and her grandma and her Auntie Macassar and everything. Does this ring a bell for anybody? Anyhow, they did an episode, it may have even been 2 episodes, about the longest night, about the winter solstice, and how, you know, the clowns celebrated this and stayed up all night, and the things that they did. And that just, for some reason, that always stuck with me, and I thought that was so cool. And I don't know. It's just part of my memories about the winter solstice. So we did not stay up all night. I would have never made it, but I did. One of my favorite things to do for winter solstice is I like to make a centerpiece every year. I make a different one, and I make it usually out of greenery that I go outside and I cut down, like pine and other evergreen kind of stuff, and pine cones and wood. And this year I used pieces of firewood that I cut up, and I kind of made a sun shape out of this stuff. I'm sorry, this headband's starting to bug me. I'll insert a picture of it here. Hopefully I'll remember to do that. If not here, at the end. Yeah, I'll put it at the end. That's way easier. But anyway, I love to do that. And then the other thing is my traditional meal that I usually make, or that I think I've always made when I've done a winter solstice dinner, is a standing rib roast, which luckily those suckers go on sale at this time of year because they're not the cheapest cut of meat, but they're really, really, really good. And so it's sort of a splurge, and I do that and do like the salt and pepper and garlic rub all over it, and it gets all crunchy. And, oh, it's so yummy. So anyway, and then I roast vegetables and, you know, stuff like that. And I made cheesecake. I made a sugar-free cheesecake, actually, which was really good. So that was our winter solstice celebration. I'm definitely looking forward to taking some time off over the holidays. Yesterday I went out and I shipped a wholesale order, and I shipped some other just shop orders, and that was it. I'm done with any major work between now and at least this weekend. I'm taking, like, today. I mean, I know I'm podcasting today, but this doesn't feel like work to me. Today, tomorrow's Christmas, Friday, I'm just taking those days for me and just enjoying them. Christmas is going to be very, very low-key for me, as it was last year. The kids will be here in the morning, then they'll be at their not the grandparents, they'll be at their dad's in the afternoon and evening for dinner. And I will just kind of be here and enjoying myself. It will be a low-key day, and I'm fine with that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably be using some of that time to reflect. It's that time of year. Pause, reflect. 10 points to anybody who knows that quote from what movie. Anyway, let's see what else. Goals. I told you I was going to talk about goals for the coming year this week, and I'm not, because I haven't really had time to reflect on this year yet. So I will save that for next week, since next week will actually be the final podcast of the year. That seems more appropriate. So I will, though, point this out. I went to Chipotle yesterday because out running around doing some very last-minute shopping, and I was starving. And so I went to Chipotle, which we have a new Chipotle. It opened back in the fall, and this is the first time I've actually gone to it. And their food is so good. But their bags had, like, some really interesting, there was a little food for thought kind of writing on it. But the big part on the front had this on it. And it says, often in life, the most important question we can ask ourselves is, do we really have the problem we think we have? And they quote that to be Sherry Fink. I don't know who Sherry Fink is. But I thought that just kind of stopped me as I was reading it, because the whole thing on the back was related to this. And I thought, you know, that is an excellent question. You know, sometimes you see something wrong in life, whether it's like a physical, actual, you know, material kind of thing. Oh my gosh, that's falling apart. Or this is, you know, the basement's flooded, you know. Well, when the basement's flooded, that may very well be the problem you think you have. But, you know, in other ways, like maybe in relationships or in your job or I don't know, whatever, in the way you spend your time, you know, we often maybe get focused on one problem. It's like, this is the problem. I have to fix this problem. And yet it's usually like a knee-jerk reaction. Like you see something and you automatically think that is the problem. And this is like making me realize, like, sometimes if we step back and think about it a little bit and maybe broaden the scope, like, is our initial impression of what the problem is that really accurate? I mean, it may be part of the problem or it may be a symptom of the problem, but is there a bigger problem or a different problem that is more better, better addressed? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I hope you do. At any rate, I'm going to hang this up in here where I can see it every day and try to keep this in mind, because that is one of the things that I know 2015 is going to be for me is, you know, I have a lot of things that, you know, I'm so tired of talking about this, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it. So many changes, so many transitions, a lot of them hard, a lot of them good. Some of them are good and hard at the same time. And I tend to think I know what the problem is and I know how it should be fixed. But that's not always realistic, because it involves either other people or other situations that are not within my control. And so, you know, a big part of what I want to focus on next year, and again, I'll talk about this more next week, is focusing more on me, not in a selfish way, but me in, you know, what can I change to affect this situation? And if it doesn't solve it the way I want it changed, how can I be okay with that? Does that make sense? Because I really, really need to get to a point where I am not nearly as anxious about things and upset about things as I get a lot lately. This fall has been horrible for anxiety for me. I've never had anxiety issues like I had this year. And it's making me a little crazy. Well, not a I don't mean that literally, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about now. I had my annual checkup last week, and I see a nurse practitioner lately, because my regular doctor, who I love to death, he's the president, though, of their doctor group, and so he always ends up canceling appointments and pushing them back, and it had been pushed back 3 times, and I'm like, can I just see the nurse practitioner? Because she's very nice. And so I went in, and I've seen her a couple of other times. Like I saw her for my poison ivy this year and everything. And anyway, I've never seen her for an actual checkup, like a physical. And she was wonderful. She's probably, I would say, maybe 5 to 10 years older than me. Not much. I mean, she's close to my age, and I consider that range the same age anyway. But she was really nice, and just, she took so much time talking to me. You know, she did not sit and stare at, you know how they use the computers now in a lot of doctors' offices? That's the one thing I hate, because the doctors spend more time looking at the computer and typing in their stuff than they do looking at you. And she had her computer, but she spent a lot of time looking at me and talking to me and asking me questions, because she's known about a lot of the stuff going on in my life. She's known about the divorce. She's known about the empty nest this fall. You know, she knows I have my own business and how busy I am. And just a lot of other stuff. And she asked me really good questions. And basically she was like, okay, well, how are you doing with all of this? Because that's a lot going on that could really affect somebody. And I said to her, I said, you know, sometimes I'm fine. I said, and other times I'm not. I said, I'm really kind of anxious. It's affected my ability to sleep sometimes. And I said, sometimes I just have this general feeling of being sad. I said, not depressed, like I'm not able to function, you know, but just an overwhelming cloud, you know. But then I said, sometimes I'm fine and it doesn't bother me. And after talking a little bit more about that, and especially about the fact that I'm not sleeping well, and that my, you know, the anxiety level has been higher than it really has been ever, she did prescribe something for me to be able to take when I need it. It's not something I need to take every day. And, you know, so that was actually sort of a relief, just to have somebody say, you're not crazy, you're actually going through stuff that can be causing all of this. And she also mentioned the fact you're also of an age for women where you've got a lot of hormonal stuff going on inside of you that can also trigger these kind of things. So on top of everything that's going on, it could be a variety of things. And then she also checked my thyroid, which my thyroid was fine, because she said thyroid stuff can sometimes cause these issues too. My thyroid's fine now. Actually, all my blood work was perfect. So my cholesterol, yay. But anyway, all that to say, it's like, you know, I don't even know where I was going with this. I'm just trying to focus a little bit more on me and getting me okay with life as it is right now. So, and as it will be, and grow into 2015. I'm really, really hopeful that 2015 is going to be a wonderful year. I mean, this hasn't been a bad year. It's just been a very different year, and it's still a point of adjustment for me and transition. So, okay. Wow. The tangents I go on sometimes. Let's see. I'm going to just pop into shop news now if you aren't interested in that. I understand, and thank you for watching up to this point, and I will see you next week. However, if you are interested in the shop news, hang on, because there's just a little bit. Number one, I wanted to remind you that if you are knitting with any of the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks yarn that you have purchased or was gifted or anything, or if you've been spinning my fiber and you have finished objects that you've finished in October, November, or December, please remember to post pictures of them in the 4th quarter Fiber Nymph Dyeworks finished object thread on the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks board on Ravelry. You have through October 31st to do that, and then I will do a drawing for the $25 gift certificate, the first podcast of the new year. And then we'll start that over. I like doing those quarterly drawings in there. That's a lot of fun. I have forgotten to mention, I'm terrible at promoting sometimes, the last couple of times I recorded, that all of my patterns on Ravelry are 50% off right now and will remain that way through January 5th. So if you've had one of my patterns that you've been wanting to get, they're there, and they're 50% off through January 5th. So check those out. No coupon code needed. They're just already marked down. There will be a sale in the shop, and this I alluded to last week. I said there was going to be a little something special going on between Christmas and New Year's, and there will be. And here's what, I've never done this kind of a sale before, so I hope this works out okay. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go. It's going to be a progressing sale. It's going to start December 26th, so the day after. It will start like right at midnight, and it will run through January 1st. I decided to make it January 1st instead of December 31st, just because, you know, December 31st, people are doing a lot of other stuff too. So it'll be through December 26th through January 1st. And what will happen is the sale is going to progress. The coupon code will be out with the old, all capital letters, OUTWITH THEOLD. No spaces, just all capital letters. Out with the old. Use that when you're checking out in the shop. Don't put it in PayPal anywhere. Put it in the shop where there's the place for the coupon code. And the progressing sale is going to start at 10% off. What's going to happen is randomly between that sale period, I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the sale amount to something higher. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the random number generator to choose a number between whatever. So if it starts at 10, I'll put in between 11 and 25, because 25% will be the highest amount. Okay. So I'm going to do that. And that will be the next percentage off. So it could be like really weird percentages, like 13% or 21% or something weird. But I'm going to do that a few times throughout that period. And I will note at the top of the shop page, and probably also in the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks group, I'll have a thread for it there, and on the Facebook page. I will put it everywhere I can think of to let you know what the new percentage is. It'll be the same coupon code. The percentage will just change. So depending on when you use it, and there's no limit on the number of times you can use it. It's just until it expires on January 1st. You can keep using it, and the percentage will get higher. I will not, like, so if it the second time, if the second one is 16% off, when I do it the next time, I'll start with 17% as my random number base. I hope that is making sense to you. And if by chance it happens to land on 25% early on, then it's going to just stay that for the rest of the sale. It's going to be good for anything that is in stock in the shop. Okay, it's in stock, tangible in stock items only. It's not going to be good for special orders. It's not going to be good for like the sweater lots, which are, you know, pre-orders. Or gift certificates, not good for that. I'm debating whether to take those things out of the shop during the sale period or not. I really don't like to do that because then inevitably somebody writes to me and says, where are the reversible pre-orders? You know, I may just put a big note at the beginning of all those listings to let you know that if you are ordering something else and that, that the percentage that's going to be coming off of that, I'm going to have to bill you for the percentage that you got off of the pre-order item. It would probably be best to just put them in 2 separate orders because it does not apply to anything that is not in the shop. So, okay, so that will be going on. And lastly, also goals for my shop. I do have goals for 2015 for the shop. I've got some really cool things coming up, some colorways that I am very excited to start dyeing in the new year. Some sort of behind the scenes-y kind of stuff too that I'm working towards. Little things that you may not notice, but will hopefully have a positive impact. Anyway, lots of new things coming up, but I'll talk about those more next week and as they start to come up. So I believe that's everything I have for you this week. And again, if you are celebrating Christmas tomorrow, I wish you the best of Christmases with your family and friends or whoever you celebrate with, or by yourself if you're going to be like me and just kind of be on your own. I just hope it's a wonderful day for you, and may you have peace and happiness. And I will see you next week. Take care.